Continuing with Deuteronomy 10.1. At that time the Lord said to me, Hew for thyself 2 tablets of stone like the first, and come up to me in the mountain, and make for thyself an ark of wood. And I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets which thou didst break, and thou shalt put them in the ark. And I made an ark of shittim wood, and hewed 2 tablets of stone like the first, and went up to the mountain, having the 2 tablets in my hand. And he wrote on the tablets according to the first writing, the 10 words, which the Lord spoke to you in the mountain out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. And the Lord gave them to me. And I turned and came down from the mountain, and put the tablets in the ark which I had made, and they were as the Lord commanded me. And the children of Israel took their journey from the Beerot ben Yaakan to Maserah, and there Aaron died, and there he was buried. And Eleazar his son ministered in the priest's office in his place. From thence thy journey to Goddah, and from Goddah to Yatvatah, a land of streaming waters, and waters. At the time the Lord separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, to stand before the Lord to minister to him, and to bless his name to this day. Therefore Levi has no part or inheritance with his brethren. The Lord is his inheritance, according as the Lord thy God promised him. And I stayed in the mountain like the first time, 40 days and 40 nights, and the Lord hearkened to me at that time also. And the Lord would not destroy thee. And the Lord said to me, Arise, take thy journey before the people, that they may go in and possess the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. And now, Yisrael, what does the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes which I command thee this day for thy good. Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens belongs to the Lord thy God, the earth also with all that is on it. Only the Lord took delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be stiff-necked no more. For the Lord your God is God of gods, and Lord of lords, a great God, a mighty and a terrible, who favors no person, takes no bribe. He executes the judgments of the fatherless and the widow, and loves the stranger, giving him food and raiment. Love therefore the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, him that shalt serve, and to him that shalt hold fast and swear by his name. He is thy praise, and he is thy God, who has done for thee these great and terrible things which thy eyes have seen. Thy fathers went down to Mizraim with 70 persons, and now the Lord thy God has made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude. Therefore thou shalt love the Lord thy God, and keep his charge and his statutes and his judgments and his commandments always. And know this day, for I speak not with your children who have not known or have not seen the chastisement of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his stretched out arm, and his miracles and his acts, which he did in the midst of Mitzrayim to the Pharaoh, the king of Mitzrayim, and to all his land, and what he did to the army of Mitzrayim, to their horses and to their chariots, and how he made the water of the sea of Suf overflow them as they pursued after you, and how the Lord destroyed them unto this day, and what he did to you in the wilderness until you came to this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, and their households and their tents and all the living substance that followed them in the midst of all Israel. But your eyes have seen all the great acts of the Lord which he did. Therefore shall you keep all the commandments which I command you this day, that you may be strong, and go in and possess the land into which you go to possess it, and that you may prolong your days in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, and to their seed, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land into which you goest to possess it is not a land of Mitzrayim, from whence you came out, where thou didst sow thy seed and didst water it with thy foot like a garden of vegetables, but the land into which you go to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinks water of the rain of heaven, a land which the Lord thy God cares for. The eyes of the Lord thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And it shall come to pass, if you hearken diligently to my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God, to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I'll give you the rain of your land in its due season, in the early rain and the late rain, that thou mayest gather in thy corn and thy wine and thy oil. And I will send grass in thy fields for thy cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then the Lord's anger be inflamed against you, and he shut up the heavens, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not its fruit, and you perish quickly off the good land which the Lord gives you. And you shall lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they will be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou dost sit in thy house, and when thou dost walk by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thy house and upon the gates, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children, in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. For if you shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you, to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to hold fast to him, then will the Lord drive out all these nations from before you, and you shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. Every place whereon the sole of your foot shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness to the Lebanon, from the river of Parat to the uttermost sea shall be your border. There shall be no man able to stand against you, for the Lord your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that you shall tread upon, as he has spoken to you. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day, and a curse if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which you have not known. It's Deuteronomy 11:27.